What if the cruelest thing your boss ever did to you was actually the kindest thing life ever planned for you? What if being fired, humiliated, and told you were not good enough was not your ending, but your secret entrance into the most beautiful story of your entire life? Sarah walked out of that office with nothing but a small plant, a coffee mug, and broken confidence. She cried in a parking garage for 1 full hour. She felt finished. But 3 weeks later, in a warm coffee shop, over 2 cups of coffee, she met a man who looked at her like she was extraordinary. Not despite her broken chapter, but right in the middle of it. And here's the part nobody is ready for. That kind, warm, wonderful man? His name was Daniel. And his son? The person who fired Sarah, erased her ideas, and called her not a good fit? That was Daniel's son, Marcus. The man who destroyed Sarah's career is now her stepson. This is not just a love story. This is a story about how life has a perfect, poetic, absolutely dramatic sense of justice, and how your lowest Monday can secretly be the first page of your greatest chapter. Stay with me till the end, because this story will change how you see every painful ending in your life, forever. The morning started like any ordinary Monday. Sarah wore her blue dress. She made her coffee. She smiled at herself in the mirror and whispered, "Today will be good." She was wrong. By 10 o'clock, everything changed. Sarah worked at a big company in the city. She loved her job. Every day she came early. Every day she worked hard. Every day she created new ideas, wrote new plans, and helped her team grow better and stronger. But her boss, Marcus, never said thank you. Marcus was 32 years old. He had sharp eyes, expensive suits, and a cold voice. He never smiled at Sarah. He never praised her work. He only called her name when something was wrong. Sarah always wondered why. She worked harder. She stayed later. She brought better ideas every single week. But Marcus only became colder. On that Monday morning, Marcus called Sarah into his office. She sat down across from him. She looked at his face. Something felt wrong immediately. His expression was flat. His hands were folded on the desk. He did not offer her tea or even look at her kindly. He said simply, "Sarah, we are letting you go." Sarah blinked. "I am sorry?" she asked quietly. "You are fired," Marcus said. "Today is your last day. Please clean your desk." Sarah felt the room spin slowly around her. She had given 3 years to this company. 3 years of early mornings, creative ideas, and honest hard work. She had missed birthday dinners. She had canceled weekend plans. She had given everything. And in 30 seconds, it was all finished. "Can you tell me why?" she asked. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking under the table. "You are not the right fit," Marcus said simply. He opened his laptop. The conversation was over. Sarah stood up slowly. She walked to her desk. She picked up her small plant, her favorite pen, and her coffee mug that said, "Good things take time." She put them in a bag. She walked to the elevator. She pressed the button for the ground floor. The elevator doors closed. And then Sarah cried. She sat in her car in the parking garage for 1 full hour. She did not drive. She did not call anyone. She just let the tears fall, and the sadness move through her completely. Then she wiped her face. She took a long breath. She started the car. "Okay," she said to herself. "What is next?" 3 days later, Sarah was sitting in a small coffee shop near her apartment. The place was warm and smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. Soft music was playing in the background. Sarah had her notebook open and was writing. New plans, new ideas, new possibilities. She was not happy yet, but she was trying. "Excuse me," said a voice near her table. She looked up. A man was standing beside her. He was tall, with silver hair at his temples and warm brown eyes. He was perhaps 50 years old, but his smile was young and genuinely kind. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, pointing to the chair across from her. The coffee shop was full. Every other table was busy. "No," Sarah said. "Please sit." The man sat down. He ordered black coffee from the passing server. He opened his book. For 10 minutes, they both sat quietly, reading and writing peacefully beside each other. Then he looked up and said, "That is a beautiful notebook." Sarah looked at her notebook. It was covered in small, hand-drawn flowers. She had decorated it herself one evening when she could not sleep. "Thank you," she said. "I made it myself." "Really?" His eyes showed genuine interest. "Are you an artist?" Sarah smiled a little. "I was a marketing manager. Now I am figuring it out." The man nodded slowly. He did not ask more questions. He did not look sorry for her. He simply said, "Figuring it out is actually very brave." Sarah looked at him with surprise. Most people responded to, "I lost my job," with uncomfortable faces or quick advice. This man responded with respect. "I am Daniel," he said, extending his hand. "Sarah," she replied, shaking it. His handshake was warm and firm. His eyes were honest. They talked for 2 hours. Daniel was a landscape architect. He designed gardens, parks, and green spaces for buildings and homes. He talked about plants the way Sarah talked about creative campaigns, with passion and genuine love. He asked Sarah about her ideas. She told him about the marketing campaigns she had created. She told him about the project that she was most proud of, a campaign for a small children's charity that she had built from nothing. It had raised a lot of money and received a small award. Daniel listened to every word. "That is remarkable," he said honestly. Nobody had said that to Sarah in a very long time. She felt something warm move quietly through her chest. When the coffee shop was about to close, they both stood up to leave. Outside on the pavement, the evening air was cool, and the streetlights were glowing softly orange. "Can I see you again?" Daniel asked. Sarah looked at him. His eyes were hopeful but gentle. There was no pressure in his expression. "Yes," she said. "I would like that." They met again 3 days later, this time at a small Italian restaurant near the river. The candles were low and warm, the food was delicious, and the conversation was even better than before. Daniel made Sarah laugh, really laugh, deeply and freely, for the first time in months. He told her funny stories about difficult garden clients. She told him about office disasters. They talked about books, about travel dreams, about what they both believed made a life meaningful. Sarah noticed small things about Daniel. He opened doors. He remembered she did not like olives and quietly moved them to his plate without making her ask. He put his phone face down on the table and never looked at it once during the entire meal. He was fully present with her. It was the most romantic feeling she had experienced in years, not because of grand gestures, but because of genuine, honest attention. After dinner, they walked along the river. The city lights were reflecting on the water. The air smelled clean. Their shoulders were close, but not quite touching. "Sarah," Daniel said softly, "I have to be honest with you about something." She looked at him. "I have a son," he said. "He is 32. His name is Marcus. We are not very close. He is complicated." Sarah stopped walking. The name moved through her like cold water. Marcus. She turned slowly to look at Daniel. "Marcus," she repeated carefully. "What is his surname?" "Cole," Daniel said. "Marcus Cole." Sarah's heart was beating very fast. "He works in business?" she asked. "Yes, he runs a marketing company." Daniel paused. "Do you know him?" The silence between them was long and full. Sarah looked at the river. She thought carefully. She thought about what to say and how to say it truthfully. "He was my boss," she said finally. "He fired me 3 weeks ago." The silence became longer. Daniel turned to face her completely. His expression was serious, then deeply uncomfortable, then quietly sad. "Sarah, I am so sorry," he said. "You did not do it," she replied gently. "I know, but this is very complicated." "Yes," she agreed. They stood there together by the river for a long moment. Neither of them walked away. Neither of them said goodbye. Daniel looked at her with honest eyes. "Does this change things for you?" Sarah thought about the last 3 weeks. The empty mornings, the quiet apartment, the notebook full of new plans, the 2 coffees with this kind, warm, genuine man who had made her feel like herself again. "Does it change things for you?" she asked back. Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, it does not." Sarah exhaled. "Then no," she said quietly. "It does not change things for me either." Daniel reached over and gently took her hand. They continued walking. The months that followed were beautiful and honest and real. Sarah started her own small marketing consultancy from her apartment. She worked with small businesses and charities who needed creative campaigns but could not afford large agencies. Her work was joyful again. Her ideas flowed freely without fear or jealousy blocking them. Daniel was her biggest supporter. He told his friends about her work. He brought her tea during late working nights. He celebrated every small client she gained with genuine excitement. On her first official business anniversary, exactly 1 year after Marcus fired her, Daniel took Sarah to the same Italian restaurant by the river. The candles were the same. The food was the same. But this time, when the dessert arrived, there was a small box beside Sarah's plate. She looked at Daniel. His eyes were warm and certain. "I am not asking because life is perfect," he said gently. "I am asking because with you, even the imperfect parts feel beautiful." Sarah opened the box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring, a small diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires the color of forget-me-not flowers. "Will you marry me, Sarah?" Daniel asked. She looked at the ring. She looked at his face. She thought about the coffee shop, the river, the quiet dinners, the way he moved olives from her plate without being asked, the way he made her feel completely and safely seen. "Yes," she said. "Yes, absolutely yes." The wedding was small and warm and perfect. In Daniel's garden, surrounded by flowers he had planted himself, they said their promises to each other in the soft afternoon light. Friends and family stood around them, smiling and crying gently in the happy way that people cry at things that feel completely right. And then, the moment arrived. Marcus stood at the edge of the gathering. He had come. Daniel had asked him to come, and after long consideration, Marcus had said yes. When the ceremony finished and people began hugging and congratulating, Marcus walked slowly toward Sarah. She stood still. She waited. He stopped in front of her. He was quiet for a moment. His expression was not cold anymore. It was complicated and honest, and genuinely uncomfortable in the way that real human growth always looks. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "Thank you," Sarah replied. Another pause. "Sarah," he said, "I owe you an apology, a real one. I fired you because you were better at the job than I was. That was wrong. I knew it then, and I know it more clearly now." Sarah looked at him steadily. "Thank you for saying that," she said. "It means something." Marcus nodded. He looked at his father across the garden. Daniel was laughing with friends, his face completely full of happiness. "He is the most happy I have ever seen him," Marcus said quietly. Sarah followed his gaze. She smiled softly. "I will take care of that," she said simply. Marcus almost smiled. That evening, as the garden lights came on softly and music began playing quietly between the flower arrangements, Sarah sat beside Daniel and held his hand. She thought about the blue dress on that Monday morning, about the elevator, about the car park and the 1 hour of tears, about the coffee shop and the warm brown eyes across a small table, about how losing everything had led her, step by careful step, directly to this moment. She leaned her head on Daniel's shoulder. He pressed a gentle kiss to the top of her head. "Happy?" he asked softly. Sarah looked at the garden, his garden, now their garden, full of flowers and light and people they loved. "Completely," she said. "My boss fired me. Now I'm his stepmother," is a story about something every person who has ever lost something important truly needs to hear. Your worst ending is sometimes your most important beginning. Sarah did not plan her happiness. She did not schedule her love story. She simply kept moving forward with honesty and courage after her most painful professional moment. And life, in its most dramatic and poetic way, rewarded her patience with something far more beautiful than any job title ever could have offered. The right doors always open, but only after the wrong ones close completely.